Following the latest on the bird flu outbreak at Hickman's egg farms in Arizona that forced purging of 6 million chickens, well, that may not just impact egg prices, but it will come at a cost to taxpayers.
So Hickman's may be eligible to receive up to $100 million from the federal government to respond to the outbreak. Joe Dana tonight tells us why some want the egg producer to be transparent about how that money would be spent.
The very large federal payment awaiting Hickman's is re-energizing the debate about the role that massive industrial farms play in spreading the disease. Every business operates with some amount of risk, but not every business gets government-backed safety nets. If a large-scale egg producer like Hickman's is hit with the bird flu, the law requires them to depopulate their entire flock to prevent spread. Hickman's said 3 locations in Arizona were hit, amounting to the death of 6 million chickens. The USDA then agrees to give Hickman's an indemnity payment. It is meant to provide financial relief and support repopulation to farms. That amount was raised in February to 2.5 times and is now $16.94 per hen. For Hickman's, that would amount to nearly $102 million.
We don't believe operations like Hickman's or others should be compensated for these kinds of losses because they are playing a major role in the spread of this virus.
A spokesperson for a nonprofit that investigates labor and animal conditions on industrial farms says Hickman's should explain how it will spend that money. The company has not responded to written requests about how they would spend the money.
They do not owe the public, according to the government, any information about what they do with those funds. So I do think it's worth asking Hickman's, why aren't you using some of that money to preserve the livelihoods of the people working for you? Why aren't you using that money to improve systems on your farms that will fundamentally prevent this kind of crisis from happening in the future?
During an interview with 12 News last week,
it's devastating for our customers. It's devastating for the families that work with us.
CEO Glenn Hickman declined to discuss the exact amount they will receive for recovery.
I would rather not because we're a private company.
Berger and Hickman both say the indemnity payments should not be necessary at all, but for different reasons. Hickman blames the USDA for prohibiting egg producers from vaccinating their chickens against the bird flu.
The USDA has spent billions, and it could be prevented by just allowing us to vaccinate.
Berger alleges the problem is with concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFOs.
Really, we're talking about massive industrial operations here in which animals are confined indoors and they're exposed to these threats, these biosecurity threats.
Researchers at the Johns Hopkins Center for a Livable Future say confined poultry systems like those at Hickman's create ideal conditions for spreading the virus, but say pasture-based farms are also at risk because chickens are directly exposed to wild birds. They say more research is needed to understand regional transmission. How to make the egg industry more resilient remains a point of debate.
Unless we get at that foundational problem, we're not going to see this virus addressed properly in the United States or elsewhere.
We could avoid all this economic devastation by just simply vaccinating our chickens.
Joe Dana, 12 News.
Joe, thanks.